This casserole is a must-try for dinner tonight. Let me show you how I make it. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. Today I am trying out and sharing two new recipes with you. This first one is something that I've seen on the internet for a very long time. I think a lot of people make it. It seems pretty popular, but this is Dolly Parton's 5-ingredient casserole. However, just a little bit of a disclaimer. I did add more than just the 5 ingredients. So if you have made this recipe before and you don't remember the onion, that is something I added. After I had the casserole completely together, I also thought it would be really good with mushrooms. I did have some on hand, but I didn't think of it until I already had the casserole in the oven. So this recipe I feel like is really a great recipe, but I feel like it can be used as a base. You could definitely add so much different vegetables or really like meat, whatever you're wanting to it. I feel like it makes a really great base and something that you can definitely add to. So I started off by dicing a small to medium-sized onion in small pieces. I have a pound of ground beef going on the stove, so I'm going to just incorporate those and get them cooking together. The recipe that I ended up finding for this wasn't necessarily a recipe. It was kind of unclear about a couple of different things. So I was unsure if I was supposed to be doing a layer of the hash browns in the bottom of the pan and just kind of creating layers, or if I was supposed to incorporate the hash browns in with like the meat mixture. I did a little bit of both because I thought it would be nice to have like a hash brown layer down there, kind of crunchier. So that is what I did, and I really liked that touch. So that is something I will continue to do in the future. So I have a layer of hash browns in the bottom of this pan. I did grease this pan really well. So I have a layer of that, and then I'm just adding salt, pepper, and garlic to it. Again, the recipe did not say any seasonings, but I feel like it could use really whatever seasonings you like. You could kind of take this in different directions, add like taco seasoning if you're wanting it to take it and have it more of a taco flavor. You could add more Italian type of seasonings. I feel like this is, like I said, just the base, and can really be taken so many different ways. And honestly, there might be a bunch of different ways out there to make this. This was just the recipe that I kept coming across, so this is the one I'm making. Now that the ground beef has cooked through, I'm going to add in the rest of the ingredients, and I have a really large pan here, so I just figured instead of dirtying a mixing bowl, I'm just going to mix them all together in this pan and then top it on the casserole. I added 1 can of cream of mushroom. The recipe stated that you can do cream of whatever you want, so I did cream of mushroom, and then I put in the rest of the hash browns into this. I am adding a cup of Greek yogurt. However, the recipe does call for a cup of sour cream, so I'm just mixing that all together, and that is it. Like I said, add in more ingredients here if you're wanting to. Although this is the first time I'm making this particular recipe, I have tried numerous Dolly Parton recipes. I really like her recipes a lot, and I feel like most of them are like this one where they're really good as is, but they definitely can be used as a base to make it whatever you're wanting it to be. I really love the versatility of her dishes, and I've made several of them. I feel like every time I make them, it always reminds me of going to Branson, and because she has that restaurant there, I think it's called the Dixie Stampede. I can't remember what it. No, I think it's just the Dolly Parton Stampede. I can't remember, but anyway, making her dishes always reminds me of our family vacations to Branson. We live somewhat close to it, so these just. And she has a very big influence, I feel like, in Branson. There's a couple other spots that she does too. I think there's a place in Tennessee. But anyway, yeah, it just always reminds me of that. And I always really enjoy her dishes. So anyway, I have that mixture all mixed together, and I'm just topping it onto the potato crust layer, and I'm just gonna kind of spread that out, get it nice and even. Then I'm gonna top it with cheese and I'll put it in the oven. So again, this recipe was not much of a recipe. It just kind of had the ingredients. It didn't tell me how to do it. So I just put it in at 350 degrees. I did cover it with foil at first, so I cooked it most of the way. I wanted to get those potatoes, which the hash browns were like straight from the freezer, so they were very frozen. So I wanted to get those cooked all the way through. So then once it was cooked about halfway through, I removed the foil and cooked it the rest of the way until it was nice and bubbly and cheesy, exactly how a casserole should be. I know that not everybody likes the casseroles this way, but I love the casseroles where around the edges the cheese is almost like crunchy. That is like my favorite part. I know there are so many people that just don't like that, but that is one of my favorite parts. Here's how the casserole turned out. I just topped it with some green onions and served it with some steamed green beans. This was a really great meal because not only was it delicious and super easy, but it's also very budget friendly, which is something that I know a lot of people are looking for these days. Groceries are through the roof and things are very expensive. This is a very budget friendly recipe and it's perfect for those larger families. So I came across this recipe quite a while ago and I've just had it saved. I guess it was from a Picadilly restaurant and they had called it a vintage pecan delight pie. So, however, I believe there are a ton of different names for this particular pie. The one that I actually saved it from, I had saved it because I thought it was interesting. They had referred to it as the stupid pie. So I'm like, what does that even mean? So anyway, I don't know if it's just because it is crazy easy and very little ingredients. This was not really what I was expecting. However, it was delicious. We were going to a family get together and I thought that this particular thing would go over really well with people that were there. And it did. It was gone before we even left. This pie, it's very, very simple, very little to throw together, and very, very delicious. And I feel like it's also very different from any pie that I've ever made or had. So anyway, I started making this pie, and I think the star of the show is the meringue. So I'm starting off by making the meringue. I have 3 egg whites going, and once it turned foamy, I started slowly adding in the sugar. So that is what I'm doing here. Once the sugar is incorporated, I'll turn up the speed and I'll have it go until it forms stiff peaks. It said to grease the pie pan really well, so I just have about a tab of butter on this paper towel and I greased it very well, as you can see, which ended up working out great because they came right out of the pie pan. The recipe calls for 23 Ritz crackers. I didn't have them. I had these. These are like off-brand Toll House, and they ended up working out perfectly, and I'm assuming there was probably not much of a difference. So I'm crushing them, but not to crumbs. It said to leave like larger pieces, but to break them up, just right before they become crumbs. So that is what I'm doing, and just making sure that they're all just kind of broken up, but not in crumbs. Now that the meringue is done, I'm going to assemble the pie and mix everything in. So I added in about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add in the cracker crumbs, And then I'm going to add in pecan pieces. So the recipe did not really say if they needed to be small or larger. I think it said just pecan pieces. And I feel like if they were super small, they might not be as noticeable. So depending on kind of what you're going for, I wanted them somewhat larger pieces because I knew that my family, like, they love pecan pies. So I figured maybe it would somewhat resemble that, which in the end, I think it really did. So I left mine a little larger, but you could definitely chop them up a little more if that's not really something you're going for. I made sure not to overmix anything. I just kind of made sure it was all incorporated. Now I'm going to put it directly into this pie pan, smooth it all out so it's nice and even, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. Now I did 350 degrees, and I think I put it in a little longer. I think it said about 20 minutes. I'll have the recipe down below if you're wanting to try this, but I believe it said about 20 to 30 minutes, and you're wanting just the edges on the top of the meringue to kind of start to brown. So that was mostly what I was looking for. I've made meringue before, never this, and I know that it can kind of be, at least to me, it's a little scary. So that was kind of what I was looking for. I pulled it out whenever it started to kind of brown on top. So this was the finished product, and then you're supposed to top it with a tub of Cool Whip. So I ended up not doing that. I ended up just cutting it and then serving it with like a scoop of Cool Whip over top. So that is how it turned out. This was super, super good. If you love meringue, you love pecan pie, this is a really wonderful mixture of the two of them. I feel like it has been so long since I've jumped on here and actually talked with you guys and had like a good chat video. I've posted a lot of cooking videos because that just seems to do best on my channel, and I'm always cooking, so I always have something to share there. But I really have been missing chatting with you guys, so I figured, you know what, this was a shorter cooking video. I'll go ahead and share what we have been up to in the yard with the garden. I know some of you guys have been with me for a while and have followed, you know, what we do in the garden and stuff. Now, this is over probably 2 months time. I recorded this, and then, you know, just different things I'm just kind of piecing together and share with you what we've done so far, at least some of it. So this was actually a while ago. For the first time I did potatoes. So I had never done it before. However, I saw it being done in a laundry basket, and I'm like, that is really cool and so super easy. So I wanted to give it a try. I need to do a video where I give like a garden tour, because this video does not do it justice. I mean, I'm just kind of sharing, you know, how we kind of got started with it. However, it has come so far and it's doing so well, and I'm so excited to share with you guys. So that will probably be coming up here soon. I'll just give, you know, a quick little garden tour and show how far everything has come along. So anyway, this was kind of a while ago. At the start of the season, I read that I could go ahead and get a jump on potatoes because they're cooler weather. So I went ahead and did that, and I just layered it with leaves and dirt and then the potato seeds in that basket, and they have gone crazy. They are doing so, so well. So like I said, I'll have to jump on here a little later and show you guys how everything is going. Another thing that we found was this little tree. Now, this is like a dwarf peach tree, I think it is. And my husband thought it was super cool. We wanted something just to keep on the patio. So that is what we put in that pot, and it is still doing really well. I planted like flowers beneath it. So we have that right outside next to our pool. And then we started getting these climbing roses. So that is what I'm getting ready now. My husband is going to dig the holes, and we're going to plant these here. We only have 2 because they are climbing, and they're supposed to climb, I think it said like 14 feet. So we figured they would climb up the pergola and kind of over it and along the fence and stuff like that. So we started with 2, thought that would be a good amount. I don't want to overcrowd them. I am so excited about the roses. We've really invested in basically a bunch of climbing roses this year. I try to work on getting one thing at a time each year. I want to say I don't want to just overdo it and get everything, and also that's very expensive. So we ended up finding a really great deal on climbing roses. We got a variety for around our yard to climb different areas, and then next year we'll probably focus on a different perennial, but the goal is just kind of to slowly add perennials each year, and eventually we will have a nice full yard, and I just cannot wait. So anyway, he is adding this. We added, I can't remember what these ones were called, but they were this beautiful bright pink color. So he's going to be putting those here. We also have this dark red rose that we got for over by the garden. And then in the dog yard, we got these ones that were called hot and spicy. And they are stunning. Like I said, I'm going to have to share here soon because they're just so beautiful. So anyway, we went around and we kind of planted the different roses throughout the yard, and I'm just really looking forward to watching those grow throughout the years. And then I'm going to get started on planting the things that I've grown from seeds. And then while we were looking for roses, we found a couple deals on what were they? Pepper. We got a variety of different peppers. And that was one thing that I'm doing this year, is really just planting a lot of flowers. For one, my husband here, he built these boxes and he's planting wildflowers in them. I've always wanted wildflowers and I couldn't really figure out where I wanted them. So he built these boxes out of scrap wood that we had, and mostly because my teenagers are the ones that mow and they will mow right over them. So we wanted to prevent that. We went ahead and made these little boxes, and like I said, it was just out of scrap wood we had. And then they are growing really well too. And then what I'm planting in the garden is the peppers that we had gotten. Like I said, we stopped at a couple different nurseries, and some things had, heirloom tomatoes and stuff on sale, or a variety of peppers. So we kind of just did that. We picked those up as we found them. And that's something that we use a lot of. Tomatoes and peppers. We use a lot of the bell peppers and jalapenos, stuff like that. We even have banana peppers this year. My mom got me a plant of that, so I'm going to put that in. And then I'm just mixing in different varieties. So here I have some herbs that I'm planting, like oregano, parsley. And then I have the tomato plants in back. They're small here, but they are really large now. And then I'm putting in smaller jalapeno plants like in the front of them. So like I said, I was recovering from surgery, and a lot of my plants were from seed, which I don't really do very well with, but that was kind of really all I had to deal with this year. So I was, finding things to do while I was recovering from surgery, and that was kind of one thing I did. I did a lot of gardening in pots and little seed kits, and we just had them like on the front deck, and then we moved them back here once they were big enough. I also got a variety of zinnias that I'm planting here. These are smaller ones. I also did grow a lot from seed. So I grew that, and I'm trying to think of the other one that is a super small, alyssum. I grew a ton of alyssum this year, and I grew those in pots because I had seen that they kind of just grow over the pots. They like really fill in, and they've started to flower now. So that's really pretty. I love how I started a whole bunch from seed, and just watching it grow has been super cool. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.